And a major federal drug case once hailed as a big win for law enforcement has now been damaged following the discovery of a major flaw, and it involves Erie County Sheriff's Narcotics Chief DJ Granville.
He's now accused of staging evidence, conducting illegal searches, and misleading a judge. 2 On Your Side investigative reporters Charlie Specht and Sean Mickey show how security cameras inside a Buffalo home turned the case upside down.
It was supposed to be a major bust. A 2020 raid that federal prosecutors called a crippling blow to one of Western New York's biggest drug trafficking rings.
As a result of the tremendous efforts of those agencies, those law enforcement agencies, 4 individuals who are part of a transcontinental drug trafficking organization that stretched from Buffalo to Los Angeles have been arrested.
Police said they seized cocaine, fentanyl, guns, and cash, all led by Erie County Sheriff's Chief of Narcotics DJ Granville and his Narcotics and Intelligence Unit. But what officers didn't know that night was that they were the ones being watched. Security cameras inside a home on Grimes Street captured what a federal judge later called, quote, damning evidence of unlawful conduct by law enforcement officers. A federal judge said those cameras showed Granville and his team entering parts of the home they were not legally authorized to search, and later allegedly staging evidence to justify it. This court finds Detective Granville's conduct to be an egregious violation of the Fourth Amendment. Judge Kenneth Schroeder wrote, court records show Granville claimed he found a utility bill linking the suspect, David Burgin, to the upstairs apartment. But defense attorneys argue Granville put it there himself. They point to a hidden video, not available to the public but described in these court records, that shows Granville holding a white envelope in his hand, rifling through a trash bag, and then walking away without the envelope. The utility bill later turned up on top of an open garbage can, conveniently linking Burgin to the space that police had no warrant to search. Judge Schroeder wrote, quote, it is this court's opinion that Government Exhibit 11 is a staged photograph because of the way the various papers are juxtaposed and too convenient in the context of the issue at hand. We asked NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos whether he was surprised that the drugs and guns found in the search were thrown out of court as illegally seized evidence.
If true, if a photograph was staged and was part of the application for a search warrant, then that would be hugely problematic for law enforcement, and it'd also be incredibly rare. You don't normally have that kind of black and white evidence.
The problem started earlier that night when Granville led officers up a stairwell to the second floor, even though their warrant only covered the lower front unit. Court records show he told the court it was a split-second decision for officer safety, but a judge said the area was well lit under a streetlight. The dispute led to what's called a Franks hearing, which is a rare hearing where a judge decided whether evidence should be suppressed. The drugs and guns found upstairs were all thrown out as illegally seized evidence.
Criminal defense attorneys like me talk about suppression motions all the time. But if we're being honest, most of us have only won these maybe a handful of times. They're very difficult to win because judges just don't like throwing out main pieces of evidence against a criminal defendant. They want the government to have their day in court. So these are very difficult motions to win, and they're very rarely granted.
And the case only gets stranger. Court documents show someone used Wite-Out to change the search warrant, removing the words lower front. The county judge who signed the warrant, Kenneth Case, was called to testify. He denied altering the document, even though one of Granville's detectives testified that the judge did it himself. In the end, judges threw out nearly all of the evidence, and prosecutors dropped 13 of the 14 charges against Burgin. Once facing 15 years to life in prison, he's now expected to plead guilty to a single count of cocaine possession and could walk free with time served. Federal Judge Richard Arcara ruled that law enforcement acted recklessly and with gross disregard for Burgin's constitutional rights and said Granville's actions were, quote, particularly egregious. The case could have implications for Granville's career, as well as other drug cases.
A law enforcement officer caught planting evidence can consider his or her career effectively over. And what's worse, what usually happens is as soon as a law enforcement officer is found to have done this, defense attorneys like me start going through our files to see, hey, was this guy involved in any of my other cases? And then even more motions will come out challenging all of his prior cases that he was involved in.
Granville declined to comment for this story, but Chris Horvatitz, Sheriff John Garcia's spokesman, said in a written statement that the sheriff had no comment on the judge's decision to throw out most of the evidence, quote, beyond saying that we respect both it and the rule of law. We are also aware that this investigation has resulted in the conviction of David Burgin, though we should add that that was only on one count, as the other 13 original charges were dropped. On your side in Buffalo, Charlie Speck, Channel 2 News.